Everybody set? Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today to announce the first round of approved projects for the Community Recovery and Revitalization Program. As you might recall, this was an important initiative that we strongly advocated for during the last session and worked with the legislature to secure $40 million in federal ARPA funding to support projects across the state, which will help our communities grow and recover. Of the $40 million, about $10 million will go out in this first round to 31 approved projects. That funding will help leverage and support project costs totaling more than $153 million. Commissioner Goldstein will offer more details on the program and the first round of award winners, and we're grateful to have at least one of them here. We were going to have two, but the weather might have delayed them a bit, to talk about how this funding will support their revitalization projects and their communities. These first 31 represent diverse areas like housing, childcare, and agriculture. They're also supporting the arts, entertainment, and hospitality sectors, which suffered significant losses during the pandemic. As I've long said, we must be strategic and make lasting investments with this one-time federal money. My administration has been focused on that goal, and this program will help businesses and organizations over the long term. ARPA funding has received a lot of attention over the last year, mostly on how and where to spend it. And we're now beginning to see how transformative it can be with projects like these. But we can't stop here. We have to continue to look down the road and make smart investments that will build on the progress we're making. The funding decisions we make today need to work in tandem with the many state programs we already have. It's why in my budget, we increase funding for our downtown organizations and regional development organizations, so those on the ground can help prioritize projects that need financial support to help create a vibrant downtown structure. It's also why we must support economic development initiatives, like making sure we have industrial space available and ready, so it's there when a company looks to move or expand here, or continue to fund brownfield redevelopment projects. As I've said, there's no quick fix for the state. It will take all of these programs working together to make lasting changes in all 14 counties. So we hope the legislature will continue to work with us to prioritize investments that help the parts of our state that need it most. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Goldstein to talk more specifically about the program and those 31 projects.
Thank you, Governor, and hello, everybody. Our team in the Department of Economic Development has been hard at work reviewing these Community Recovery and Revitalization Program applications to ensure that the awarded projects are making capital improvements or capital expansions that spur the economic recovery in communities that need the revitalization all across the state. As the Governor mentioned, 31 projects have been approved for funding thus far, and we've spent just a little over $10 million of the $40 million available has been allocated. These projects will be, this $10 million will be supporting $153 million worth of project costs. So just this bit of government money helps spur additional capital investment. These projects are expected to support 354 existing jobs and enable the creation of 205 new jobs, 79 new affordable housing units, 196 new child care slots for low to moderate income families. The awards are spread across 12 counties, with 20 projects coming in from the priority groups. We had historically underrepresented groups, and towns with stagnant or declining grand list values were looked at first. This program also was made available to municipalities, and we're happy to say 3 were awarded in the first round. That's Highgate, Manchester, and Killington. And we're very pleased with the variety of projects that we're seeing, all types of projects that are being supported through this program. The demand we knew was acute when we first developed it, and we want to impact areas as diverse as childcare, affordable housing, tourism, the arts, and agriculture to really truly make this a unique program. In total, we've received 83 applications, including the 31 that have been approved, and that is to support more than $408 million in project costs. So what's so inspiring about having this pot of funding is to see the great projects that are being done all over the state by all kinds of people and all kinds of organizations. Applications not approved in this round remain under review, and they'll be announced in the coming weeks as they are approved. Applications will continue to be accepted until the funds are allocated. As the governor mentioned, the ARPA-funded projects are a great start, and it's great to see ARPA dollars at work, but we know we need to do more, and we need to maximize these investments, and that's why we need the legislative support to support our full slate and portfolio of economic development initiatives this year, including brownfields, the Rural Industrial Development Fund, the Vermont Training Program, and new worker incentives, so we can continue the work of ensuring our communities are able to recover, grow, and continue to be revitalized in the future. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Moe Moulton and Letty Moulton from Neck of the Woods Daycare, which is based in Waitsfield, one of our recipients. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Moe Moulton. I'm the Executive Director of the Neck of the Woods program. This is Letty. We'll see if she can make it through this one. Neck of the Woods is a childcare center located in Waitsfield, Vermont. With me here today also is one of our amazing toddler teachers, Destiny Miller, and we're hoping that Letty can manage to hold out her squeals of appreciation for this grant quicker than I can. We're absolutely honored to be here today, and we would first like to express our utmost gratitude to Governor Scott, to the state legislature, the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, and those administering the Community Recovery and Revitalization Program. That is hard to say when you haven't slept in 3 weeks. Similar to the rest of the state, the Mad River Valley has a dramatic shortage of childcare available to families with children infant through preschool age. Many families have to patch together childcare options, often with one parent staying home and out of the workforce. Providing high-quality childcare is a critical component to young working families considering moving to Vermont. Neck of the Woods programming began in the early months of 2020 with our team's vision of providing high-quality childcare and early education to the Mad River Valley and the surrounding communities. In 2021, we bought our campus from Small Dog Electronics, which includes 11 acres of land, a 10,000 square foot building, and a 5,600 square foot warehouse. At the time of purchase, we began a $2.5 million capital campaign to renovate the main building and turn it into a much-needed childcare facility. Since 2021, we've renovated the main floor of the building to include 5 classrooms and bathrooms and improved the building envelope and HVAC systems. We currently have 45 children enrolled per day, ages 6 weeks to 5 years of age, and we will be expanding to allow available slots to 68 children per day by the end of this year. This grant that we were awarded of $468,000 will give us the opportunity to continue to expand our facility by renovating the second floor to open up more classrooms, adding handicap access with a new elevator and entryway. It will allow us to continue to update the building envelope and systems to meet all state and federal requirements. And in a county where there are over 1,100 slots needed for infant through preschool age children to meet the demand for childcare, we will be able to provide 125 slots for children in these age ranges once the second floor is complete. We would again like to express our appreciation for this grant and the opportunity to help fill the critical need for childcare for young families in our beautiful state of Vermont. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll now open up for questions. Maybe we can stay on topic first, and then we'll take the off-topic questions afterwards.
Governor, is there a specific, and maybe Commissioner Goldstein can weigh in, is there a specific number that you're looking for from the legislature this year for this revitalization program?
We have a whole slate of economic growth initiatives that we'd like them to adopt. So I'll let Commissioner Goldstein explain a few of them.
Sure. Yeah, so for the community revitalization, we're not asking for additional funding, but we're asking for $10 million for a brownfields revitalization and $10 million for industrial development funds to help spur development of industrial facilities all around the state so that we're ready when businesses are growing or when we're recruiting businesses from Canada, as an example. The other asks are $5 million for a Vermont training program and $4 million for the relocated worker.
You mentioned housing being one of the sectors to which these grants are going. Do you have a sense of how many new units will come on board as a result of
With this $40 million grant?
With the 10 million that is being appropriated in this round, I'm wondering if you can talk
Out of
about
31.
net increase in housing units.
So in the 31 projects, we're going to have 79 new affordable units. That's in White River Junction.
So that's one project in White River Junction?
That's correct.
Okay.
For the first round. We have many housing applications in the queue. There'll be more.
For Commissioner Goldstein, I guess it's probably different for different projects, but when you're vetting these applications, what are some of the criteria that you guys are weighing?
Sure. Thanks for the question. Project readiness weighs very heavily, as does the sourcing of other funds. Most of these projects have many sources of funds, and if it's early days, we really are kind of deferring those and asking them to come back when they've located some other sources of funds. I'd say those are the two most heavily weighted. We also look at geographic distribution. We look at childcare and affordable housing, so there's a variety of things that go into it, but I'd say the two largest components are readiness and the leveraging of other sources.
Is it Moe? You talked about this grant giving your organization the opportunity to be able to create more slots for kids. Presumably you're going to need more people employed in order to do that. Can you talk about how you think you're going to be able to address some of the workforce issues that other organizations like yours are running into?
That's a tough one. We definitely all in childcare see a difficulty in hiring staff. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we do find that it's a very difficult balance because in childcare you don't necessarily get paid an extremely large amount of money. So I think what we've been doing is we've been working with our board to piece together how that balance is going to look and making sure that we continue to build programs so that we can use a multitude of programs that will funnel the money in together so that we can distribute out more money to our staff than we otherwise would be able to with just one or two programs. So we kind of use a multi-tiered approach to those things. Yeah.
Any other questions on topic? Anybody on the line?
Yeah, Tim, Sarah, Ed, or Guy have on-topic questions. Want to go now, and we can circle back for off-topics.
One off topic.
Well, okay. All right. Thank you very much. She was very good.
As you know, Governor, before town meeting date break, the Senate voted out S5. Looks a little different. Has that check back. Has a study associated with it. Does the current proposal that was voted out of the Senate meet your concerns?
No, it doesn't. But we still hope that they will be able to make the changes in the legislature as it moves through the other body, and we'll go from there.
What specifically would you
I want a bill to specifically say, we're going to take this back in, and then we're going to, I've listed it in my veto letter from last year, exactly what it's going to cost and what it's going to mean and what we're going to look for. And I think it really has to be specific and go through the normal bill process. And it really doesn't say that. It says a check back of some sort. And that could be changed in many different ways. And it really is in the wording because who knows who's going to be here when that comes back from the PUC. Some of us may not be here. I may not be governor. Who knows? So that leaves it to interpretation. And when you go to interpretation, you have to go by the words, not what the intent was.
If I'm staying in a hotel right now, government is paying for me to stay in a hotel or motel, and I hit that exit date, right, whether it's May 31st or June 31st, what's next for me?
Well, we've been doing, I think, something that hasn't been done before, and because a lot of this is new to us, and especially the expansive nature of all the folks who are enrolled in the hotel motel program. But we've gone in with a team to actually talk with them to find out what their needs are and what they're going to do, or what brought them here, and what we're going to do in the future. So with this type of approach, we'll have a better handle on where they go next, and provide some of the services they need, whether it's in recovery, whether it's in transitional housing, whether it's in any type of other type of temporary housing as well as for long-term housing. So finding job opportunities and so forth. So we are working to try and make sure there's as soft a landing for them as possible, so they can get back on their feet, and we can get them into permanent housing in the long run.
What would the temporary housing options look like for somebody that's...
But we still have our program, right? I mean, it's still there, still viable. So the program, General Assistance Program, isn't going away. It's just changing. But with some of the investments we've made in some of the organizations, there will be more housing available temporary in nature there as well. I'm going to ask Secretary Samuelson if she could take it from here.
Governor, I think I addressed the question quite well. I just want to reinforce that the agency and the administration have taken a very active role investing in housing, having rehoused more than 3,000 people over the period of the pandemic. We continue to work on making unprecedented investment, bringing new units online, as well as adding shelter bed and shelter units. As we work to move forward, as the governor reiterated, the agency conservative and partnership across all of the departments, as well as with other agencies, been working to assess the needs, both the healthcare needs, housing needs, the economic needs, and the workforce needs in the hotels, which is that's more information than we've ever had before, but also a stronger resource case approach to working with individuals who are experiencing homelessness. We have confidence that these approaches will give us the information we need to continue to move forward and to help the clients that we're working with move forward into housing or other situations in the future.
Secretary Samuelson, I understand there are about 1,800 households in motels and hotels right now. When we go into the new iteration of this program on June 1st or July 1st or whatever it is, how many households will there be capacity for in that program?
We are currently leading total maintenance across our shelters, across the work we're doing with the Vermont Housing and Compensation Board and other program. What I can say is there are many individuals who were formerly housed, oftentimes with family and friends units. We can't, at this point in time, in those analysis, but we can and have supported ongoing families who house their loved ones in creative ways, which include providing financial support to individuals experiencing move on to alternative. What I will say is our current program is not prioritizing the most vulnerable, and the number of units that are available are declining. So imperative for all of us to begin to look at our programs going forward to make sure that we're housing children and youth, that we're housing individuals with disabilities and older adults as we go, because right now we're not able to accommodate them in our current programs.
I think you probably got part of that, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, is there a number that you can give us for the number of households that the next version of the program will be able to accommodate at any given time?
Yeah. We're calculating it. Let's get back to you on it.
Thank you.
That's why we want to continue investing in the VHIP program, for instance, providing for accessory dwellings. We think that that's provided a lot of units for a lot less money than the traditional housing program. So we want to continue to invest in that area and hope the legislature goes along with us.
Go ahead. You're gonna, in the not too distant future, have a bill arrive at your desk that seeks to address the issue of suicide in Vermont by instituting a 72-hour waiting period for firearms purchases and a requirement that gun owners keep their firearms securely locked away when they're not using them. What's your inclination right now?
What's the bill number again?
Is it 230? H230?
So that's passed the House
It's in judiciary right now.
in judiciary.
Yeah.
So it hasn't got through the House yet, right?
It's schizophrenic.
Okay, and then, so it gets through the House and then it goes to the Senate?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's got a ways to go, first of all.
yeah.
A lot of changes there. I think I've made it fairly clear. I personally don't believe we need to make any dramatic changes in our gun laws at this point. And from my perspective, that would be problematic. So we'll take a look at it when the final version finally does arrive, but I'd say it still has a long ways to go.
Problematic in what way?
For me.
In what? Why is it? What?
Well, like I said, we took, as you probably remember, about 3 or 4 years ago, we took a lot of steps towards implementing gun safety regulations and oversight, and I think we can still improve in that, red flag laws and so forth. There are some provisions that we could adopt and go along with, but if it's too expansive, then it's probably a non-starter from my perspective.
But what's the problem that's created for gun owners in the state by the provisions that I was just referencing?
Which ones?
72-hour waiting period and safe
Again,
storage.
I've been resistant to the 72-hour waiting period. I think I even vetoed one. It was for handgun legislation in particular. I just don't think that that's workable. I don't think that that helps the situation.
And safe storage, and you're.
Well, again, who's going to have oversight of that? Like, who is going to? Is someone going to go into your home and inspect your home and determine whether you've put your firearms away? I mean, how far are we going to go with this? I mean, those are the types of things that people are going to ask, and they're going to wonder, does this give law enforcement the ability to come into your home to inspect whether you have your firearms stored correctly?
Governor, as you also probably seen, the budget adjustment is coming your way. I think it was voted out of conference committee, or they're working on it.
They did vote it out.
They did. I know you had raised concerns about the size and scope of some
Yeah.
of the spending. I mean, what do you make of the
My
way-
concerns are still there. It's $50 million over what we had asked for in budget adjustment. About half of that was for the housing piece that Peter was referencing. And the other, there was $25 million more for VHCB as well. So it's not where it's directed in terms of housing, VHCB, and so forth, but where's the money going to come from? We presented a budget that we think was balanced and made the appropriate investments. So it's got to come out of something.
Would
And with
that-
all the other initiatives they're talking about now, we're talking, I mean, there's a lot of money at stake here, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Are those concerns enough to warrant a veto? do you think?
We'll take a look when it gets here, first of all. I mean, we have a bill review process. When we get the bill, we have 5 days to act upon it. And we'll take a look to make sure that there are no mistakes within the bill. I think that's something that a lot of folks miss, that it's not just, we don't just take their word for it, because we've seen, I think it was last session, we had a number of bills that had mistakes there. And they were rushed through, and there's some oversight, but you miss things when there's so much at the end. So we want to make sure that it's workable. We'll have all our agencies and departments look at the portions of the bill that they are responsible for, and then give us any feedback they might have. At that point, I'll determine whether to sign or not sign, or whether to veto, as we do with every bill.
Before we head out, obviously severe weather rolling in, southern Vermont getting hit pretty hard. I just was wondering, discussions you guys had beforehand and preparing.
Yeah, I mean, we are in constant contact with emergency management, and I had a cabinet meeting this morning. We went around the table and discussed our areas of responsibility and how we were doing. Obviously, the southern part of the state got hit the hardest, and this isn't over. We have some concerns about what the high winds are going to bring, and more snow to other regions of the state. A lot of power outages in the southern part. Before this press conference, I learned that we are setting up, I believe, an emergency shelter in the Brattleboro area. Route 9 is closed. Route 7A is closed, a portion of that. Route 12, I believe, in Bethel is closed. So this is, it's a significant event, northeaster, and it's not over. So we have our share of concerns. Anything, Commissioner Morrison, you'd like to add to that?
Sorry, I would add that as of about a half an hour ago, we had over 36,000 outages reported. So it will be a multi-day restoration period. We have, I've authorized the opening of a partial virtual emergency operations center to coordinate our response and to support the utilities in their work in whatever way possible. So yeah, this one, the snow accumulation has gone much further north than we anticipated, and we were having a higher volume, and so I think once those winds pick up, we're going to be really concerned with more trees and lines coming down. The governor alluded to several roads that are closed. We've had multiple reports of trees on lines or just trees across roads too. So this will be a messy one to pick up from. Everybody should be very, very cautious. Stay home if you don't need to be out there.
But we have, we're prepared as well as we could. Green Mountain Power did a great job in bringing over some of our partners from the north in Canada. So we were all set up, ready to go, in anticipating that there was going to be power outages as a result of the storm. Questions online?
Yeah, we'll go to Ed Barber, Newport Daily Express. Ed, looks like you're good.
Casella has the, hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, the governor, I just wanted to ask is, Casella Waste News VT has the only landfill in Vermont. They have a virtual monopoly on the way. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because their most recent business strategy has been to vertically integrate, which means they're buying up independent haulers, so they have control of the waste stream from the garbage can to the landfill. Recently, they made a purchase of a company up here, and at the same time, they poached a couple of haulers from another company. That company couldn't replace the drivers, so they had to give up those routes. I'm just wondering if there's any concern on the administration's part that they're going to develop a virtual monopoly in the state and we'll be able to set their own prices. And they did increase their rates last year, and they increased them again back in February. I'm just wondering what your take is on how we can manage this so the consumers are protected by a company that really is operating in almost a monopoly fashion.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, I don't know, there are many companies, many entities who didn't increase their rates over the last year or two, so I'm not surprised by that. As well, I would say we do have another major competitor, Myers, out of the Chittenden County area, and there's some others throughout the state as well. So I don't think we're at a point where there's concern about a monopoly, but I understand your point, and we'll continue to monitor that in any way that we can. This is, problematic in terms of having just one facility that takes all of the trash throughout the state. And so, again, I don't have all the answers to that, but I get your point, and we'll continue to monitor.
Okay. The effective in January, I have a once a month pickup. In January, it cost me $8 plus $1.61 fuel tax. And then on top, in February, it's $20 and $3.61 fuel tax. I guess I'm wondering if, seeing how they have a lot of territory locked up, they're in the same position as if I was going to try to shop around for another electric utility. I got Vermont Electric Co-op. I can't go and sign up with Green Mountain Power. The electric utilities are regulated in terms of their rates by the Public Utility Commission. Do you think it might be appropriate for Casella to have to go to the Public Utility Commission to justify a rate increase?
Yeah, well, again, I don't think we're at that point right now, but we'll continue to monitor the situation.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
And everybody drive safe out there.
Thank you.
Sarah, Luigi Digger.
Hello, thank you for accommodating me remotely. I was spooked to drive. Governor, the Senate is slated to vote soon on S18, which would ban flavored tobacco products. I'm wondering what your thoughts and feelings are on that one.
S18, I'm not familiar with the bill.
Flavored tobacco.
Oh, flavored tobacco. I think in the past we've commented on that. I'm a proponent of as much prevention as possible. I think 1 in 6 Vermonters currently smoke, and I believe that many of our youth, that's when they get hooked. And so we need to continue to focus as best we can on prevention. I haven't looked at that bill in particular, but anything we can do to prevent someone from getting addicted to smoking, I think would be beneficial for themselves, their families, and society in general. So I'll take a look at it, but it's going through the Senate, has to go to the House. Has a long ways to go before it comes back to here, to me.
And even earlier in the process, I may be asking this for nothing, considering crossover is so close upon us. But there's a bill in the Senate, S108, which proposes to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour by January 1st, 25. What's your take on that, just in principle?
I just think it's unnecessary. I think wages have been inflated. I've said this before. I wasn't in favor of a $15 minimum wage before the pandemic, and I still am not. I believe that supply and demand works, and in this case, I believe most people are making well over $15 an hour.
Not to get smart, but why not raise the minimum wage by legislation in that case if demand has pushed wages up?
I won't get smart and ask you why we need it, but I just think it's unnecessary. I just don't understand why we would have to go through this whole contortion when it's not needed at all. And I wasn't supportive of artificially raising the minimum wage when we had provisions within the bill that we have passed over the years. I voted for it when I was in the Senate, and put a multiplier on there due to the cost of living. And from my standpoint, that's still working. So I just think it's unnecessary.
Great, thanks, Walter.
Okay.
That's it for the phones. If anyone else has anything in the room.
Just a clarification, am I hearing you say you don't, in principle, you still need to look at the bill to see what's in there, but in principle, you don't have concerns with a statewide ban on flavored tobaccos and vapes?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to look at the bill, but personally, I don't have a concern with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much.